Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to How to CLI app. Okay, so we're going to get started here. So let's go ahead and just start with a basic Ruby file. All I'm going to do here is go touch root. I don't know why I just called it Ruby. I'm going to call this CLI fun.rb. And we're going to first start with just running this file. So the first thing that we have to understand is that whole gets thing, what it does, why we have to throw the chomp in there and all that. So first, let's output something into the terminal. Let's say, give me your name. Cool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say username equals gets. Then what I'm going to do is throw binding.pry in there. I have to require pry into this file. Cool. So I am just going to run Ruby, and then we're going to run this CLI fun.rb. Cool. So it's going to say, give me your name, and then I'm going to say Jonathan, and then I'm going to press enter. Now let's see what my username equals. Huh. Does anybody know what this is and why that is there?
It's the when you hit return. It's
Exactly.
character return.
It's just the new line character. So there is a thing in here. There is a Ruby method called chomp. And what that method does is it gets rid of like white space. So it would actually read this as white space. It would read a space as white space. And only on the tail ends of either side. It chomps it off of either end. That's how I remember it. So now I get what I wanted. That's where the chomp comes in. So if you were wondering why we use .chomp, that's why. Cool, let's exit out of that. So this is the base of how you're gonna, this is really like the fundamental on how you're gonna build your whole CLI app. You're gonna ask for user input, the user's gonna give you input, and you're gonna do different things depending on the input that the user provides. For example, let's say I want a password. I could just go ahead, repeat a very similar thing. Username equals that, puts hello. Username, give me your password. And then I'll do another gets. Password equals gets.chomp. We'll do .chomp this time. Can't remember if you have to invoke it or not. We'll find out. Let's see. So what we get here. CLI offline. Give me your name. John. Password. Let's see what password equaled. Whoops. Awesome. Now, how would I go about maybe doing two different things? Maybe I want to ask them again if their password is incorrect, right? I could say if password, in this case, I'll keep it simple, equals password, then maybe we will put good job. You can now go in the app. Whoops, probably should do something like that. Else, we need to restart this. So there's a few ways we can restart. You could use a while loop or something like that, but I think a better way of doing that would be, why don't we go ahead and put this all in a method. Call it def login. And take all this stuff, put it in there. Great. Else, I could just call login again. And now it's going to ask me for it again. In case y'all were wondering how to do something like that. So I can go in here and we have to invoke login in order to get that to run. Blam. Give me your name. John. Hello, John. Give me your password. John. Oh, you see how I didn't put in the right password? So now it restarted. Give me your name, John. And then the password should be password according to this. Awesome. Now I can go in the app. Anyways, I would say play around with doing something like this before you jump into your app. So that way you get an idea of this workflow. And the next step is, let's think of how we're going to actually make an app. So instead of running it on just an RB file randomly, what we'd rather do is use object-oriented programming here. So what we can do is, I'll put it inside of my library, but you don't necessarily need to. But what's nice about your library, which by the way, this is just like one of Damon's boilerplate examples that I used. And what's nice about your library is our environment, according to Damon's boilerplate setup, it brings in everything from library. So that means that if I make something here, I don't have to worry about everything being pulled in. But anyways, just like we did in our mod 1 code challenge, we just make a class and then we run stuff on that class. So I'm going to make a class called CLI. I can even call it CLI app, right? Inside of here, let's do a def, start game and throw a binding.pry in there. So then you can go into your runner is typically like, I think that's what we want you to run the app out of, is a file called runner.rb, which I think Damon has built into that template. So this is going to be where you're kind of just starting it from. So now what I'm doing is I'm saying CLI.new, and then I'm going into a method on that CLI instance, and I'm starting the game. So let's look at our CLI. That should bring us right here. So let's see if it works. I'm going to type in Ruby runner.rb uninitialized constant CLI. Oh, because I called this CLI app. So let's call it CLI app. Oops. Bam. Now we hit that. This is how our whole program is going to start. So I went ahead and just made a little dogs database. So just to show you what my dogs database has in it, I could type in dog.all, and now I have, of course, starting with Doomslayer, I have Kona, and I think there's another dog in there. Anyways, I got some dogs. So I'm going to ignore the whole login part, although if I wanted to, I could literally just copy and paste what I had before. But let's think about how maybe I'd want to structure this thing. So first we need to go to our CLI, right? Everything's going to kind of be based out of here for now, right? And we can say, all right, so our CLI, when we start, we go here. Cool. Then maybe we want to do, first thing that we want to do is go to a main menu. Or let's do get username or something like that. So maybe I'll make a method on here called get username. And here I would say something like puts what's your name? And then I'm going to do gets.chomp. But I have to set that equal to something. So I'll say user input equals that. And let's see what happens. If I go here, I'm going to go Ruby runner.rb. And the first thing that's going to do is it's going to launch, it's going to say get username. Launches me into here. But also I don't want all this stuff here. So might be good to throw a system clear in there. So you could do this, system clear. And let's actually exit this and try that again. Bam. So now that looks a lot nicer, right? And when it clears it, it really just kind of like scrolls down, but it looks nice. So actually, if I'm going to be using this over and over again, I could make a whole function for it, right? Or a method. Do system clear. Now I could start this off with clear. Get username. And I don't need that there. Cool. Then we could say welcome user. How might I get this user input to be seen by all the other methods I have here? Anybody have an idea?
Did you make it a class variable?
I would make it an instance variable, actually. It's for this instance of CLI app. I think you probably could make it a class variable as well, but I think it's probably better practice to use instance variable. But yeah. So now that I have this user input, right, I could say welcome user. And now when I go to my welcome user, I could be like def welcome user. And I could just be like puts. Let's do it clear there. Puts, I don't know, hello at user name. At user, I should call this username. And we could do something like clear again, and then we'll say main menu. Bam. So now I'm going to go into main menu here. Def main menu. And then, yeah, we could do, this is where we could use a really cool gem. So if y'all haven't heard of it, you can use these things called TTY components. One that you could use all the time would be TTY prompt. I'll show you kind of what that does. Let's go and look at these docs. It says gem TTY prompt. You could bundle add TTY prompt, or you could gem install it. I bundle added it. Worked fine. And then there's one called select that's pretty nice to use. So I'm going to go to select. Cool. That seems pretty sweet. But I think there's a different, yup, right here. So here they're saying choose your destiny. Scorpion, Kano, or Jax, and this converts it into an array, I believe. So I think it just takes an array. So let's just try it. I'm going to go prompt. Oh, I have to require it first. So I think I have to go, should be like a prompt equals TTY prompt new. And I should by default have TTY prompt required in there. But we'll find out. So now I should be able to go, bam. And I'm actually wondering if I could make this an instance variable. I'll find out. I don't know if this works. We'll try it. And then I could do at prompt dot select. And then the question went first. So like, what do you want to do next? And then it was an array where the first thing could be look dogs or log out or something like that. See what happens. What is my name, bro, Migo? John. Oops, something broke. Yeah, so that didn't work. I think I have to just call it each time, but we'll find out. I think maybe it doesn't like it when it's a class method. We'll see. Oh, yep, there we go. See now how we have a little menu? That's TTY prompt. That's what that does for you. And then basically whatever I put there is what my answer equals. So if I selected looked at dogs, then my answer was look at dogs. Sweet. So then we could say if answer, and actually if we wanted to, we could rip this out and I could just put it here like make this a little easier to read for y'all. If answer equals answers zero, then we could go to a thing that says, I don't know, look at dogs. Else, do nothing for now. Or we could do a log out thing, but for now we'll just put logging out. Right? Anybody having difficulty understanding any of this? Like, oh, I just totally did JavaScript syntax. Sorry about that. Is everybody understanding this pretty well? It shouldn't be like anything super new and crazy. And if anybody's like, how did
You muted yourself.
I just muted myself, right? Y'all haven't been watching for that whole time, right? Because that would be nuts. So for example, here I put like a look at dogs function. How do you think I'd get all my dogs? What do you think I would get to get a list of all my dogs?
Like a select
So I could do.
from table.
So I could do another one of these, right? Prompt equals TTY prompt 2. Bam. And maybe, what is my array going to be here though? Oh, and this should be answers. I don't know how that got away. What do you think that my different answers I could choose would be? Any idea? Because I want a list of all the dogs I have, right? I'm going to change this to select dog. I'm going to change this to select dog. So here I could go into my database, right? I could say dog.all and then dot pluck their names out. Let's see what we have so far. I'm going to do a binding.pry here. Right, so I'm going to run my app again. Cool, what's your name? John. What do you want to do next? Do I want to look at dogs or log out? Let's see what happens if I log out. Okay, it says logging out and then I'm out. Or say, what's your name? John. I want to look at dogs. Hey, look at that. I have a list of all my dogs. The only problem is that this is actually logging stuff, which that's something a little bit more complicated to figure out how to turn off. But we could do that after. Point is, I've got this, and now I'm going to choose one. Let's go Doomslayer, of course. Now I could look at my answer. What is my answer? My answer is this name called Doomslayer. How would I go in and find Doomslayer from my database?
Find by name.
I could do dog.find by, and I can't remember the syntax, but I think it's this name, and then let's go answer. Right? Cool, there you go. So that works. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the code that I just figured out in pry, copy all that, and now I have the right way to find Doomslayer. How might I want to save Doomslayer, though, if I want him to be able to be seen by other parts of my code?
As an instance variable?
Yeah, I like that. At dog equals that. Then if I go, and let's make another one. So maybe I go to the main menu. From my main menu, I could go here and say, show dog. Info. Right? Invoke that. Great. And I could say def show dog info. And I could say, let's see, puts at dog.name, dog.age, and you guys don't know what these are because I made this without you. Wait. Oh, and dog.description. Then I could even say something like puts press enter to return to main menu or something along those lines. And then just do a gets. And I don't need to worry about the input here because you're just pressing, I guess I should make this any key. It just stops it. So that way you have to press something to go back to the main menu. And then what would I call here if I want to go back to the main menu?
You have a method called main menu, right?
Mm-hmm. Pretty nifty, right? So now I could, let's get out of this, run it again. Bam. What's my name? John. I want to look at dogs. Doomslayer. Cool, so all that stuff is working. It looks like we could do some clearing in here. I could probably also be like, make these more descriptive. Like this is his age, this is his weight, this is his name, this is his description. But yeah. So let me press any key to return to the main menu, and look, I'm at the main menu. I definitely need to clear stuff so that way it's cleaner, but are y'all getting the idea of the workflow and exactly kind of what you're going to be doing as far as making a CLI app goes? So this is a general making a CLI app. I've already showed you TTY prompt. Somebody tell me what your requirements are for this app. What do you have to be able to do on this app?
Have a many-to-many relationship.
Mm-hmm. Anything
and
else?
Have CRUD user stories.
Yeah.
Or at least.
Right. So you're either going to have to be able to manually seed your database and destroy things and get rid of stuff. And then I believe they might have said something to you about using an online API and working with that you could do instead. But I'm not sure if they said that to you. That's what it was like when I was a student. Is anybody curious about how to work with an API?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll show you that real quick. So to work with an API, let's find one. This is the most common one. I got to get rid of some windows. The most common one that I like to use is the Rick and Morty API. It's pretty nice. So first, let's talk about what an API is. An API is like basically a website that just contains data and is not pretty. That's kind of how I think about it. For now, that's a good way of thinking about it. It could be way more complex than that. But for now, that's I think, a pretty healthy way of thinking about it. So let's say we're going to this website link, rickandmortyapi.com/API/character. I go here, and now what I see is I see a list of different characters. Summer Smith, status, alive, species, human, gender, female. It's just data on these characters. Now, I will say you can go to this URL for image, and then you get an image out of that too, which is going to be great when you get to your front end stuff. But for now, this is just some characters that we have. How do I get this from inside of Ruby code, though? This is where a gem called REST client comes in. Let's go ahead and look it up. So we're going to go to REST client. It's a GitHub gem, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is, let me get rid of this guy right here. First thing that we have to do is let's exit out of this. I'm going to type in bundle add, and then I got to remember, I think it's REST -client. REST. Let's see, I don't use REST client all that often, so. Yep. Okay, and then hang on a second, I have to remember some stuff. I think that there's like a parsing thing we have to do. REST client will follow. JSON.parse. I think that's what it is. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new file to test REST client. So I'm going to type in touch REST client test. Right? Oh, whoops. Probably should add a .rb at the end of that. And we'll go into here. We're going to type in require REST client. And then here you can see that they use this thing called REST client. So this is the object that you get from it. So yep, require REST client. So I should be able to say, let's just say response equals REST client dot get, and then we're going to use the Rick and Morty URL. Rick and Morty, which let's actually set that equal to something. So I'll get that from, is that here? Yep, cool. Awesome. And let's just throw a binding.pry here to see what we have. So I'm going to run Ruby REST-client.rb. Oh, I don't have pry. I have to require pry. It's only because I'm not requiring my environment if I'm just running this file straight. Awesome. So now I want to look up my response. Okay, so it looks like it's working. You're getting a big thing, but I think then you have to parse it from JSON. So I think I could say parsed response, which y'all don't have to worry too much about this right now, is going to equal JSON.parse, and then I am going to put in response. Oh, you know what? I think I need to download that gem as well. JSON parse Ruby. Yep. So this is where you actually need to download a gem that does this for you. Let me explain to you what that is real quick. I know I said I wouldn't, but I will because it's actually really not that crazy. All of this, which let's look at it raw, all of this gets sent from the internet as one string. This is a JSON object, right? So all of this gets sent as a string, and Ruby doesn't know what to do with that string unless you explicitly tell it what to do. Let me ask you all this, though. Doesn't this look a hell of a lot like a nested data structure? I mean, it is. That's exactly what it is. This is why we make y'all go through the pain of learning all that stuff, is because you're going to have to work with nested data structures. In this case, this nested data structure will be turned into a hash. In order to turn that string, because remember, that's the data type that this is represented as. Ruby sees it as this. It sees it as a giant string. And then in order to turn it from a string into a hash, you need to parse it. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in bundled add JSON. Cool. So now I have JSON, and I should be able to go require JSON. And then I think I should be able to go parsed response equals JSON dot parse. Whoops, the response. So let's see. Bam. Now I have a Ruby object. So if I wanted to, I could do stuff in here like, maybe I want to go in here and maybe I want to create a bunch of dog names after Rick and Morty characters, right? So that's something I could do. So let's say I wanted to do that. Let's copy all this junk. In fact, I actually don't know that I need most of that because I think most of my gems get brought in. But let's go to our seeds file real quick, which is here. And maybe I could go, these are my, dogs that I've seeded, but maybe we can seed some Rick and Morty characters. I'm going to go ahead and half screen this so that way I could look at like the data structure. There is this is I think it's a Google Chrome tool that allows you to look at data more cleanly. But why don't we go, so now I have this parse response, right? The first key of this parse response equals results. So I'm actually going to key into that and just say, let's go in results. Then I want to go here and say, maybe I want to go in my parsed response, or actually here, let's do this in 2 steps. So that's our parsed response, and then we'll say characters equals parsed response index.results. Cool. So now here what I could do is I could say characters dot each do, and we'll say for each character I can create a new dog. Dog.create. And now when I'm seeding all this stuff, we could say name could equal, maybe I want to pull out the character name. Character name. Age could be character. We're going to get some old dogs here for sure. Is there an age? There's no age. We'll just do status. Oh, no, that won't work. I don't know. We'll just hard code it for now. 9. Wait. We can just go 45. In description, we could do, I don't know, status. And now we will have created a bunch of characters based off of, a bunch of dogs based off of Rick and Morty characters. Let's see if it works. Rake DB seed. See how that took a while? Find, oh, it's because I did dot status instead of, remember the dot notation only works with classes. Cool. Now I can run my app again. So let's do the runner.rb and let's see how many dogs come up. What's my name? John. Look at dogs. Look at all these dogs. Kind of cool, right? And then if I want to look at a dog, Amish Cyborg. Amish Cyborg is 9, 45 pounds and dead. But yeah, sorry to ruin everybody's day. Does anybody have any questions about a lot of that? I thought it was more really of an opportunity to show y'all what y'all will be doing, and y'all can crush all this on your own. It's more of to expose to you the concept there. That way you can explore it yourself.
So are we starting with the template that you also started with?
That's what I started with, yeah. You're good to start with that boilerplate code.
Okay.
This is like exactly what I started with this morning at about like 10:30, so, well, 10:15 or something. So that's what I would do, is start with that, go from there. How are y'all feeling about project
Hey,
week?
John,
Yeah.
I missed the first part of your of this exercise. Did you just create a class for CLI app and then you just started creating methods and
Yeah,
databases?
exactly.
Is that how
I
it's
created a
set up?
class for CLI app. I put that in my library so that way all of the things could be imported, so that way all the files require incorrectly. And then I basically just started going through and making different functions. This will also be recorded too, so I'm gonna put this online in a second here. This was an
Got it. Thank
unusual
you.
lesson in the sense that I did really more showing than interacting. But how do y'all feel about CLI apps? Y'all feel ready to start? Cool. I'm gonna stop recording.